And every test came back just similar to that. My X-ray.
Hit the subscribe button and the bell notification to become part of the Transplant Helper community.
Hey folks, welcome back to the Transplant Helper again today. My name is Jim Burrell, and so many of you have been asking me how my heart cath went on yesterday that I thought the easiest way to handle that would be just to sit down, make a quick video, give you that update, and let you know how much I really appreciate you. So many of you reached out to me on yesterday. I got texts, I got phone calls, I got emails, I got Facebook posts, YouTube messages, comments, all surrounding Jim. I'm praying for you. I'm thinking about you. I hope that your 8-year transplant anniversary cath and your other test goes smoothly and that you get great results. And I appreciate that. I so much appreciate that. I don't know if you realize it, but I oftentimes pray for you really on a daily basis to some extent. And I appreciate those who say they pray for me. I take that very seriously when someone tells me they're going to go before the throne of God in heaven and offer up my name and make a request or beg, as in this case, that I do well. So thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate that. It means an awful lot, and it is the best thing you can really do for anybody in this case. But as far as my procedure on yesterday, things were quite a bit different than they typically are, and that is because generally speaking, my transplant center does these annual type of visits over the course of a 2-day period. And it really comes down to the first day I go in, usually I have blood work, EKG, x-ray, echocardiogram, and see the doctor. That's typically on a Monday. And then on a Tuesday, I go back in and I have my heart catheterization / angiogram procedures. And back in the early days, even biopsies done at that point in time, and then they basically call me that afternoon and give me all the results, let me know how things are going. But this year was a lot different from that. I think it really goes back to COVID on last year when so many of their appointments had to be canceled, had to be postponed, had to be changed. Basically, this year, they're trying to do things a little bit different, and that is instead of having the 2-day appointments, at least for me, they compressed everything down into 1 day. So I was kind of concerned about that. I really didn't know how I was going to handle going in and doing, again, blood work, x-ray, EKG, echocardiogram, and then a heart cath. Or in that light, even when they sent me out my schedule, it said, be here for a heart cath at 7 a.m., and I thought, well, how in the world I'm going to do the other things that, you're asking me to do? So they did it, though. They did it. And the way they accomplished that was by putting me back there, doing the cath, and then bringing those things to me. And that worked out well for everything, save, I think, the EKG. I had to go over and do that. Of course, that takes like 15 seconds, but they brought everything to me and it was very convenient. I don't think what they got as far as the information was quite as accurate because when they're doing an echocardiogram particularly, I wasn't able to roll from one side to the other like I traditionally would. So a lot of the pictures weren't, I think, as clear in my case, my anatomy, but they did it nonetheless. So I was thankful that that got done, that everything went really smoothly. And really for the first time ever, I was out by lunchtime, okay? So that was kind of a good way of doing things instead of, having to go from here to there to there to there and then wait in line for every one of those things. I was kind of placed on a stat or hurry up list because they were all trying to catch me while I was recovering from the cath. Now, the procedure itself went rather smoothly this time. Dr. Lodge came in early that morning and told me right up front, he said, Jim, because you're not having a lot of problem right now, we've made some medication adjustments I've told you about, and that's improved my condition somewhat. He said, I don't think we even need to pass that aortic valve that you have. I don't think we even need to take a chance on passing that this go round because I feel like everything's going to be just up to par, same as it was last year. And so that mechanical / artificial / whatever hybrid valve that I have, they don't like to pass that in and out. And he said, let's not do that. So that shortened the length of the cath up. A lot of time my caths have lasted anywhere from an hour to up to 2 hours. This time that was about cut in half at least because they weren't going that far. Now they still did the left and the right heart cath. And so that involves either going through your neck and or possibly your wrist or radial or just doing it all through the groin, which I generally opt through the groin. It's obviously a little more painful, a little more uncomfortable, and it immobilizes you a lot more than this would, or even that. But I prefer that because I know they get really good images. Usually the tracking in and out is a lot easier, and it's just simpler. So they went in through that method. every time, I could really be at myself, Dr. Lodge was saying, looks great, looks good. Yeah, I'm satisfied with that. And so he did the whole cath. We made it in and out, and he came back out and gave me the results and said, you look great. You really just overall look good. And even though he knows there are some issues, a little bit of a stiffening, thickening heart wall muscle and, this and that and some things, basically, if I'm not symptomatic, he's not concerned. And I like that about my doctors, my whole team really, that yes, they base things on facts and numbers and labs, but at the same time, they get feedback, and that works on a positive side or negative side. If they go in and find great numbers and I say I feel like trash, they're going to respect me, and they're going to continue to dig and to help and assist in any way they can, because they base that on quality of life, how I feel. On the other hand, if I go in and say I feel great and they find numbers that are not so good, they're not necessarily going to panic. They're not going to rock the boat, if you will, and go into changing medications and offering procedures that they feel like I don't need because I feel great. So I appreciate the way they balance that. And so yesterday's cath/angiogram procedure went very smoothly and got good results, with one exception, and that is when the secondary doctor came in, Dr. Hassan. He come in and said, Jim, do you realize that you've got a really high red blood count? And I think I'd heard that before, but I was on some morphine and some other medications just from the cath, so I was a little bit loopy. I wasn't sure. He went on to ask me several questions about that, including, do you smoke? Which he knew the answer, and so did I. But no, I don't smoke, never have, never would. But he basically said that a lot of the times why your red blood count can be high comes down to the fact that you're having trouble processing oxygen. So that could be from someone who smokes, obviously. I don't. But it could also be from various and different issues, pulmonary type of issues, which we've looked into before. So I need to be clear on that. Or finally, and it's what he suggests, and I think is probably true, it comes down to sleep apnea, which I do have sleep apnea. I do have a CPAP machine that I wear, and, supposed to be wearing it every night. Don't always accomplish that, but I do have a CPAP machine I'm supposed to be wearing. And he doesn't think that my sleep apnea is being managed very well right now. So I'm going to be touching base with my sleep doctors and all those folks that are involved, home health type of people, and get them to make some adjustments to my machine and review my records of the last couple of months just to see, how is this really working out? Am I on a high enough pressure? And I getting the relief that I have? Because if you have too many episodes of sleep apnea during a night, they allow you a number. I think my particular doctors are okay with me having 5 episodes per hour, which sounds like a lot, but as long as I have less than 5, they feel like it's somewhat managed. But I'm having more than that. I know that from the records I've even looked up on the online portal. I'm having more than that right now. So they're thinking about maybe upping the pressures and such. And, I know that's something we have to work through. So that could be an issue. It could also be the issue, which I'm just being honest here, that I don't actually wear the CPAP machine as much or as well as I should. I generally wear it every night, but, some nights you just toss and turn, and before you know it, I'll just pull the thing off. That's just the way it is. And then other nights, which is almost every night, I don't go to bed very early. So midnight, 1 o'clock sometimes are pretty common for me. And so, if you go to bed that late and you've only got a small window there of sleep, especially me when I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, you only got a small window of area to wear it. So, I think I need to do better. I need to do better. They need to help a little bit more. We need to work that out. Get that red blood count down. And that will be, right now at least, my only issue. So I did very well. And again, I appreciate the prayers, the concerns. Those of you who asked, had a good result. And every test came back just similar to that. My X-ray, EKG, echocardiogram, all came back looking good as far as, nothing's changed. And so we progress and we continue on. Now, to answer a couple of questions several of you asked, the main question I got several times from people was, Jim, why are you still having heart caths 8 years post-transplant? Now, the easy answer to that is basically I'm a congenital patient, okay? When you live the congenital life, particularly like I did, where you go 38 years before needing and or receiving a heart transplant or any organ transplant, if you're a congenital type defect patient, there's just a lot of damage overall to the body that's done in general, and replacing the organ, that's a great repair. That's a good, a treatment. But at the end of the day, it's just always some things that aren't going to be right. And I've read many really, really detailed studies that try to explain that in really medical talk. But yeah, statistically, things are always good, but they're not perfect. Maybe that's the case for all of us, but they're good, but not perfect. So they try to be overly cautious with me. They try to continue to, delve into those things, keep a close eye. And I love that about my team. Again, they always treat me similar to a pediatric patient. So I get the top-notch attention, care. Everything's great, and I appreciate that. The secondary reason why I'm still getting heart caths every year is because I had the aortic valve replacement it'll be 2 years ago, I think in June, but about 2 years ago. So they're continuing to keep an eye on that. I got the first 6 years, basically, I got the annual heart caths because they knew my aortic valve on my new heart was not right. And so they were keeping an eye on monitoring that. Now they're doing it in post because they're going back and checking that, keeping an eye on that. Again, he didn't pass it on yesterday. He didn't think it was a need for that, but still they monitor, still they see, and can watch the function of such. And it is functioning very well at this time. So they just keep a check on that. And that's why I'm still having heart cath/angiograms. Now, I'm not having heart biopsies. I haven't had heart biopsies in a number of years. Things have gone very well. I've never had any rejection, always been an R0. So I've done very well as far as that goes. So they're not concerned at all about that right now. But, there's always that potential, that danger. But they don't do the heart biopsies, just angiogram. And they did mine yesterday, and things went pretty well. So overall, a good day. And just another reminder of how blessed I am to be a heart transplant recipient, especially now, 8 years post-transplant. Thank you so much for joining today. Thank you for the prayers. I love each of you. Stay stronger, friends.